You're listening to That's the Hashtag Truth with Daniel and Jenny Muscatell, where we let real people get real honest about the bottom line.
So joining us today, we have Aaron Baker, who is a father, husband, athlete, author, keynote speaker, and ambassador for spinal cord injury. He spent over 2 decades rebuilding his body and defining life from complete paralysis. Through his adversity, he discovered a profound purpose and deep passion for empowering others to live the highest version of themselves. So Aaron, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's such a privilege to be here with you both.
We're so honored to have you here today. I have just been reading your story this morning. We just watched your documentary, and I think probably better than for me to tell everybody about your incredible journey. Do you just want to kind of tell people who maybe haven't heard your story yet a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, there's a lot to encapsulate in a short period of time, and I don't want to skip over anything, but in a nutshell, I suppose I grew up on the West Coast in Monterey Bay, and I am so lucky, so fortunate to have an incredible mother who raised my sister and me in a special part of the world, Carmel, Monterey Bay, enriched us with travel and food and culture and spirituality, and gave us just an incredible foundation and a lovely childhood. So that is essentially what's inside of me. What I pursued as a passion was a motorcycle, which was contrasting with that. So I always felt like there was this story, a man inside the helmet, when compared to my competition, so to speak. I knew that there was more to life outside of just racing a motorcycle. And, a blessing came in the disguise of trauma. I had an accident, and I fell off my motorcycle and broke my neck and became instantly paralyzed, instantly placed in touch with some of those fundamental seeds that my mother planted in me early. I realized that what was most important in life was sharing time and love. And I wasn't looking backwards at my life that was, but looking forward to creating anew. And a profound gratitude and reverence arose in me after I experienced my own mortality. 6 days after the accident, I suffered respiratory failure, flatlined. I remember the moment vividly. And from that moment on, when I opened my eyes for the first time, the second time in my life, and I peered into my mother's eyes and I took another breath, it was with that awareness that I have slowly and diligently over the past 2 decades rebuilt and redefined life, and have been sharing the process ever since.
That's amazing. It is a process too, isn't it? It doesn't really ever stop.
No, I often say that, people will say, wow, you've overcome so much. And I say, it's not past tense. This is present tense. Every day I wait to opportunity of choices.
Yeah.
Right. An opportunity to move forward or stay still. And that's up to me. So it's always present tense. It's always this way.
And you said your injury was a blessing in disguise, but this was a huge injury. You didn't just break an arm. Can you expand on what you mean by that?
Absolutely. I often say that I would not change a thing. That this adversity is what truly activates me on a complete level. I am forced to practice mindfulness, deep spiritual connection to myself, to each other, to the world. If it were just a broken bone, then I would not be truly changed. I had broken bones before. 12 weeks, you cut a cast off and you get on with the unintentional oblivion that I was living in. But because my adversity, my challenges are so great, every day, moment to moment, I have to consciously live in the present and be very mindful of my process. So I'm grateful to it. Although it's hard, it was worth it.
Yes. So you had said that there was this moment. I mean, you flatlined. You're this young boy, you're in the hospital and you flatline and you're aware of that happening, which I mean, I don't want to put a label on it. I just can't imagine. The word that comes to my mind is that's probably was very scary, but I don't know if that's what you were feeling in that moment. But regardless of that feeling, it seems like that was a pivotal point that led you to, all right, here's what I got to do.
You're absolutely right. No, it's scary, frightening, horrific. It is all of that and more when you're on the cusp, fighting for that breath, trying the innate like nature to remain alive is very strong, very strong. Clinging to those last moments of consciousness and breath and reality as I knew it. But then there's a moment of release, a beautiful, blissful, purely serene moment of just surrender. And in that moment, when the raindrop lands in the ocean, becomes a part of the whole, I become you, and we are all just one flowing, beautiful, vast expanse of potential. It is, our language does not do it justice.
Yes.
All science and religion and theory and philosophy aims to articulate what that is. And we've done that for eons to the best of our ability. And all we can do is really lean into a feeling, a belief, a faith of what that is. But it's so beautiful that I live with that. I try to constantly remind myself of that experience and see that experience or that in other people or in nature, in my thoughts, in my words, in my actions, to express that.
And when you do that, what does that give you?
Vitality.
Yeah. And so as you take that vitality and you take everything you learn from that moment that you can't put in words, I get that. I understand that. I think some of the most traumatic experiences that I've had in my life, they'll be them different. That is a struggle of how do I explain this to someone else? I understand that grapple for, you just can't put certain things in words. Yeah. But yet you have the experience. And so your experience allows you to connect with other people in a way that not everybody can, right?
I feel like, yeah, there's like a recognition that occurs in each other. We may not be able to, it's different languages. We may not be able to articulate it in words to each other, but we can recognize it. And we can be empathetic and patient and compassionate with each other. And just be in that space together. That's a beautiful thing if you can become that sensitive.
No, you mentioned your mom's eyes when you woke up. Sounds like you guys are very, very close, and you give a really good account for that moment in your book. So, for people who are watching, listening, that's explained in a lot of detail. Were there other people besides your mom or, other people in your family or your community that really came alongside you that kind of helped move you forward as well? And was there something about them or your interactions with them that set a seed that helped you move forward in your own process too?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, my father has always been pretty steadfast in my life. As I explained in the book, that my lives between my divorced parents were vastly different. However, he has a huge heart, and he would give the shirt off of his back and to the best of his ability, he would come and go and provide that love and support and encouragement when he was there. My sister, a pure soul herself, was unfortunately a lot of collateral damage. There's a ripple effect that occurs within the family and community. And she had her own suffering, her own path that she had to pursue. But she was still very instrumental in my journey. And we love each other. We're still close. I'm so proud of who she is today. My grandmother, the lineage of very powerful women on my mother's side, her mother, her mother's mother. These women are just cut from a different cloth. And I think this is where I get a lot of my grit and tenacity. Norwegian, Cherokee Indian blooded folk that I am just continuing to carry the torch for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Well, and so, I mean, you started out as riding dirt bikes, right? And forgive me, I'm not in the sport. So motocross, I don't know if there's a proper terminology for what you
got
call
it. That's it.
But I mean, that does take grit and tenacity. So you've had this sort of personality from day one of, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get better at this. I'm gonna go above and beyond and push my limits and, overcome whatever is in my way. Do you remember ever being any different than that? It seems like from what I read and what I watch, I'm like, this guy has a magnetic personality that is going to get the job done.
Well, I think, as I said, it's those little seeds that my mother planted, this adventurous spirit that she cultivated when I was young. She embraced love over fear and really just seeded me with this wonder for the world. And so with any activity or adventure, I always engaged it with this type of real alacrity, this joyful readiness to explore. And so, I did that with the motorcycle. That's why the book is called The Rebellious Recovery. It's got a little bit of that edge to it. And I like to dance in a lot of worlds. I was told that I was a chameleon when I was younger. I was comfortable in a lot of different social circles, and I could blend well and feel comfortable wherever I was, with whomever I was. So I owe it to my mother. I really do.
Does she live nearby you?
She does. I was just on the phone with her prior to us getting on this call. So
that's
she's about
nice.
10 miles away, and her roof is leaking right now because we've got quite a storm out here.
Oh, do you really?
Oh yeah, rain is coming down. We love it.
We are up in Maine, and so it has been cold, but the snow just cleared and it is bright and sunny out today. So you just never know this year how it's going to go. Yeah. Now, what about now? What are you doing with yourself now?
Now I am a father of a little 2-year-old girl, Kayla May. That truly has taken me to a whole new realm in life. I was often fearful of becoming a father because of my circumstance, not confident that I could be a present father, and that vanished the moment she came to be. She doesn't see a wheelchair or a spinal cord injury. She sees her father, and there was something. I've said this often. Something activated inside me, like on a cellular level, a primal paternal power was turned on, and it's like we're made for this, And so it was really emboldening. And so being a father, I'm a speaker these days. I like to say I'm a story doer, but now I'm really the storyteller of this experience, and I want to be that one candle for those that need me.
Well, that's it. Congratulations. I know I'm 2 years late, but that's awesome. There's nothing quite like being a parent. It's a great joy. A whole different adventure.
Yes.
Yeah. Aw. That's awesome. And so when you're going out and about and you like to speak to people, what's the one big message you like people to walk away with when you share your story and you share your experience?
I like to plant mind seeds in them so that when they're faced with adversity, which we all are,
Mhm.
we don't see them as obstacles, but more opportunity,
Hmm.
that they will pause in a moment of frustration or anger or sadness, fear, pause for a moment, reflect, and then start to face those with a new perspective and see those obstacles as opportunities. That's why I say transform adversity into an adventure, to find that
Mhm.
wonder again in their mind, in their perspective, to live with that gratitude
Hmm.
and to move forward in life.
And it sounds like you kind of have a method for how you go about achieving that.
When I was writing the memoir, I framed it, in my own cathartic reflection and often being asked, how do I do these things? It became very clear that I do have a systematic approach, a simple acronym called the BASICS, BASICS.
Mhm.
And it's really just 6 little steps that I systematically apply, broken into 2 parts. The first 3, BAS, is always the breath. Always return back to a mindful breath at any given time. There are many different ways to breathe, and I don't prescribe any particular one other than to turn your attention towards your breath.
Hmm.
With that, now you begin to activate awareness. You're becoming mindfully aware of the moment, coming back to a present state. And S is to surrender to that, not in a sense giving up or accepting, but more just being present.
Hmm.
And I call those first 3 being before doing. So that we're not just mindlessly doing in life, like a ping pong ball or a pinball machine, right? It's more about being conscious of your steps in life, your thoughts in life, your actions. And so breathe, awareness, surrender. And you can do that at any time in the day for any reason. Even if you can't sleep at night, you can go through these motions. Like there are times, all the time, that you can apply this. And then I is inspiration, but it's the breath now. It's inspire. And you begin to initiate you begin to invocate the spirit, and you activate by a choice, which is C. Choice and commitment. That's the secret sauce. You have to commit and stay committed. And S is to serve,
Hmm.
to share that. And when you serve on a greater good, purpose finds you. So
Yeah.
being before doing. And I
Can I ask you?
apply that. I plant those little mind seeds, those little mental cues for people to, at any given time, for any reason. We're all faced with challenges, obstacles, but they're either opportunities or they're obstacles. It's up
Hmm.
to you.
I was going to ask, going back to the breathing and self-awareness and being present, if someone faces something big and they're saying, I just can't, or I'm afraid and whatnot, what is coming to that breathing point? Does that help eclipse our negativity toward us overcoming those situations?
I think it's just a moment of pause to stop that subconscious programming. I mean, this is just all language that we've learned to be self-deprecating, to be fearful, to be,
Mm.
we're just not really empowered to live on this really activated, empowered, plane. So it's not that it eclipses it, it just allows it. It's okay.
Okay.
Those
Yeah.
thoughts are okay. That's human. That's just our experience here and now. Doesn't mean it's good or bad, or it just, if you pause in the moment and allow that to settle, then you give yourself an opportunity to change that dialogue.
when you were talking about that, one thing that I think of is a lot of times people, when they're facing a huge adversity, they feel really defeated. And not only do they feel defeat, and just like I'm sure you've experienced, but they get told they can't do something or there's not a way, and things feel impossible. And they can get discouraged and give up, and I'm just wondering if when you're thinking back, do you remember any specific moment where that went on for you, and what kind of brought you past that point?
Absolutely. That is every bit as real as the things we celebrate, and equally as important, if not more.
Mm.
I haven't always been a very optimistic, positive person. I am just human like you, and the ebbs and flows of life are dramatic at times. I found myself at the edge of the swimming pool, as you read in the book, where my spark was extinguished. My mind was extremely dark.
Mhm.
I did not see the light. I could not forecast a future for myself. I felt an immense burden that I had become. And I wanted to leave this realm. I did not want to live as a quadriplegic. I did not want to be cared for in that way. And I sat in that space. When I think about how I came through that, was with a quiet willingness to continue. I thought about my selfish action if I did leave, what that would do to those that love me.
Mhm.
And how would I feel if I were that person? If I were that person tending to my loved one, all I would want to do is give my abilities to them, share my love with them, help ease their suffering. And so I recognized that I could give them a gift by remaining and by showing up, giving all of myself to the process and doing that together. And so I think Churchill said it. It's like when you're going through hell, just keep going.
It's a good
Right.
point.
Well, I mean, the only way to is through.
Right.
Mm.
You have to be willing.
Mhm.
And I think that's what I have come to. I'm willing to carry on no matter the circumstance.
Your insight at being able to make that shift from, gosh, I don't want to have people care for me, but then to step outside of yourself and recognize that as a gift to somebody else to be able to, is just really incredible. I spent a lot of years working in a nursing home, and one of the things that I would regularly hear for the elderly population and parents, they didn't want their kids to have to care for them, but all the kids wanted was to be able to care for their parents. And so we would do a lot of work on, but wait, what do your kids need? What do your kids want? And so, you coming to that conclusion in that moment by yourself, is just uh, remarkable and insightful.
Thank you. I feel I've been gifted the awareness and perspective to then give on to others.
Mhm.
All I can do with that is share it.
But then after that point, so you make this recognition and you move forward with this willingness. And it sounds like you and your mom become like this power team, kicks doors, takes names.
Pretty much. Yeah. Oh yeah. We're a fourth then.
Tell us a little bit about what it was the two of you set out to do, and I guess maybe some of the key points in that journey that stand out to you.
Yeah, well, she was the one that initially rebelled against the prognosis and blocked that from entering my psyche early on.
Aw,
Mhm.
mama.
Yep, she was the bear at the door, and she really facilitated an optimal healing environment for us to not fall into that general statistic, but to buck the norm and set out on a new path of discovery potential. Something we speak passionately about today is possibility outcomes over probability, meaning plant seeds in individuals at their most vulnerable moment that are more hopeful. You can speak factually about the circumstance. Like for me, the doctors could tell me, look, you have a spinal cord injury. This is what I did technically in surgery. We fused your neck, this and that. The body will degenerate naturally if you do not adopt a healthy, active lifestyle. If you do not take responsibility for your condition, you will suffer all these secondary complications. These are factual, and those are predictable. But I cannot play God. I cannot forecast your future. I do not know your home environment, what you're made of mentally, what kind of community or support system you have in your family. I don't know those things, and I don't know what your future will hold. That is a much more empowering way to give someone potential to improve the quality of their life. And so my mother and I we embodied that, and we spoke about that. We lived it. If anything was going to be said from our lips, then it needed to be lived in our day. So,
And
we're
so,
still doing that. Her book is going to be published later this year. So
oh,
I can't wait
nice.
to hear that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is the title free for release yet? Do you get to tell
Not
us
yet.
anything?
Nope.
Okay, so just stay tuned, right?
Stay tuned.
I see we can learn about that on your website.
It's gonna complement my memoir. It's gonna go into a lot of great detail from her perspective. I'm thrilled that she has come to this place within herself to share her vulnerabilities and what that will do for caregivers, for mothers, for families.
Yes. There's so much strength in sharing that vulnerability. You know, that's where we connect, right? You know, we could all celebrate together, and that's wonderful too. We need to celebrate those moments in life together. But vulnerability, when two people are having a struggle and you can take off that mask and you can say, how was your day? And the true answer comes out, well, my day sucked, you know, or, you know, not too bad, you know, but it's how we're real.
That's it. You know, and that's okay. That is real, and that is life, and we're all just trying to navigate to the best of our ability.
And so navigating for you, I have to say, looks a little bit different, I think, than really anybody I know. You don't just say, oh, I think I'm gonna go for a bike ride today. You put me to shame, by the way. I sit and have a million reasons why I'm not exercising, why I need to take better care of my health. And you're like, well, I'm just going to drive a bike across the United States. I'm just going to go do all of these things. And it just, wow, you know, your drive and determination to be fit and be healthy and tackle anything before you is just incredible. The tours you've been on, like I don't want to spoil it all. So I'm having a struggle. See, I made a mistake today. I read your whole book. I try not to do that before I talk to someone because I don't want to give a spoiler alert and because I want to ask more questions that don't just show up from everything I already know. But I couldn't stop. So I couldn't put it down. So I'm having a little bit of a struggle with that. So I don't want to spoil maybe all the different trips you've been on with biking, but maybe if you want to tell us what you want to share about your experience with which I'll leave it with you.
You know, Jenny, I'm not like super motivated all the time. I mean, it's hard for me to make this body move and to feel inspired to, you know, engage the struggle. It's not always fun. I do things I have, you know, in this adventurous spirit theme. I try to, again, transform the adversity. It's hard for me to go from the office to the living room if I'm walking. And so if that's that hard, then I may as well go out into a part of nature or somewhere that I really want to be and express that difficulty there, because I can enjoy on a whole new level. So if I'm going to walk a long distance, I'd like to go to, say, Death Valley and walk there, and walk there mindfully for a long period of time. And that gave me a great sense of joy, accomplishment, connection. I learned more about myself, about my moxie and my mettle, and like, what can I truly do? You know, our modern society is, in general, this is a broad stroke, but we're pretty insulated, right? Like right now, I'm insulated from some severe weather, and I'm cozy and warm and soft.
Yeah.
And why would I want to change that? You know, I could just marinate on the couch. But that's not really going to move me or improve me. If anything, it will just soften me and weaken my mind and my abilities to face actual challenges in the future. So it's, you know, the cliche thing, if I don't use it, I lose it.
Yeah.
And I keep that kind of in the forefront of my awareness. Use it. This is a gift. Although this body's challenged, it's still able and capable. And so I should honor that. And that's what gets me out the door and into the garage where my exercise equipment is, or onto the bicycle, or onto the motorcycle, or onto, you know, the adventurous things I do. Again, it's that awareness.
Yeah. Now, when you think, what does your daily routine look like for exercise? Do you have a vigorous sort of workout schedule that you stick to, or do you shift it around each day depending on how you're feeling?
It's gone through phases over the years. I've gone from real intense, focused, analyzed work at the Olympic level, where my entire world revolved around eating, sleeping, training, riding, to now where it's just more of a mindful process of listening to my body, being mindful of the foods that I eat. You know, food is fuel. Make sure you're putting good stuff in the body, but not deprive myself. I'm not strict, like I can't have a piece of cake, or like I just enjoy foods that serve me. I create a home where it's zen-like, it's peaceful, it's harmonic. It's a place that is restorative for me. And then my exercise room, I call the room, restorative energy, just has some select pieces of equipment that allow me to move my body and get the blood flowing and stretch and strengthen and listen to good music. And I incorporate that 3 to 4 times a week for an hour to 2 hours. And if I can't do that, if I'm traveling, then I, you know, find other ways to stay well.
Do you have a favorite place you like to travel?
Favorite place I like to travel. There's some local mountains here called Mammoth Mountain, both in the winter and in summer. It's a really great place. A lot of fun activities. My wife really loves it. We have not taken our daughter there yet, but there's going to be a lot of snow there now. So I think we're going to travel there in the coming weeks. But I think the world's open. I just love travel in general.
Do you have a favorite place you've brought your daughter yet?
No, not yet. We've just been kind of nurturing her in this little cocoon.
Yeah.
And she's now ready to really start exploring. My stepfather is German, and he has family in Munich and Lake of Constance. And so we're going to take her to Austria and Germany and Italy.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Yeah. Well, you have obviously this huge sense of humor as well that was present through every piece of work that we were able to see before we today. You know, your documentary goes from these moments of heart clutching, like you're feeling every moment to the next moment. We're laughing out loud because you've said something hilarious. You just have this sense of humor. Well, when I read your book, I experienced the same thing. I'm diving in. It's so beautifully written, by the way, so engaging, and just the way you've set it out. And we were reading the ebook, so I loved the links to the pictures in between some of the different chapters. It was just so well done. But yes, really good. But again, I think the part that made me crack up the hardest this morning was this little point, and I don't know if you want to share all of that story or not, but you decided to go to Hawaii. You decided to rent a Jeep with your buddy, and you guys kind of took off on a little adventure.
Yeah. My good friend Brian and I, he is paraplegic and does not have the use of his lower body, but he's extremely strong upper body and fully capable. And I am a little bit of the opposite, where I have the use of my lower body, but my hands and my arms aren't quite as strong. And so between the two of us, we could really problem solve together and make it fun. And we would tease and tickle each other, and just, we were on the same level.
Mhm.
And we helped each other through thick and thin, and just had a lot of fun. We were independent, we were feeling good, and we weren't going to let a manual stick shift Jeep slow us down. We were going to make that happen.
And so, you had been riding at that point. You had your own vehicle. You had been driving again. You gained back all that independence. You have some modifications, but you decide, yeah, let's run a stick shift. We can pull it off, right? So the
We
two
at
of
least
you,
try.
you tackle it. Well, it sounds like you did.
We did. Oh yeah, we circumnavigated the island. We went well off the beaten path, and we loved every minute of it. A lot of fun. And a great sense of accomplishment too. It's like, oh well, you guys can't do that. That's exactly what someone would say. And well, sure we can.
And now, so how did it all play out? You had like a partner in crime, it sounds like a little bit. Was it his dad that goes, like, you guys are hiding? Like, I don't know. There's this whole thing.
His dad was the facilitator. He was cool. He allowed us to. I mean, he essentially rented the Jeep for us, and he knew that we had that mischievous spirit about us, and it was all innocent and in good fun. And we were kind of in this cradled little community on the island of Maui, and everybody knew each other, so it wasn't like we were breaking a lot of rules. We were just kind of bending the suggestions.
I love that phrase. I'm going to put it right there and bring it out sometime for my own use.
Asking for forgiveness.
Act now, ask later. So you said, though, that you learned for your own self. You had a lot of accomplishment out of that experience. What did that teach you when you walked away from that?
We can do anything.
Yeah.
We can do anything.
Sky's the limit.
Adaptation is just a part of the ride.
Mm-hmm.
I really early in my recovery in the hospital, they were really impressing the necessity of adapting early, adapting to different types of ways of holding items or using adaptive modalities. And I wasn't interested in learning to adapt at that time. I was interested in learning my body and reconnecting and trying to become strong and connected. And adaptation occurs naturally as my interests for increase. I would figure out ways to make that happen, adapt naturally. I didn't need to be taught how to adapt. I think we're all innately capable of it. There was an old TV show in the 90s called MacGyver.
Oh yeah.
You remember that TV show?
We're familiar.
Oh yeah, I love it.
MacGyver.
So,
Oh yeah.
Always figured out a way.
Yeah.
Even if it was just with a stick of chewing gum and some dental floss, he could find his way and figure it out. And as a kid, I was often compared to MacGyver. So I carried on with that idea that I could figure it out and adapt, and it's incredibly empowering.
When you think about your little girl and the messages that you will teach her as she gets older, what parts of that drive do you want to make sure she takes on?
I just want to instill, three main things of being grateful, living gracefully, and being resilient. I want my actions and my, I guess, legacy to be, I don't know, framework, just to show her what's possible. I know that my words will fall on deaf ears at some point. So it's not so much what I say as it is what I have done and what I continue to do, and be present with her.
Yeah.
And I know that she will be the evolution of me.
How can gratefulness affect our resilience? Because you mentioned both.
Well, if you live in a space of gratitude, then you can survive most anything. Was it Nietzsche? One who has a why can endure anyhow. So if your why is just pure gratitude for now, then how is just the process. And in that is resiliency. And resiliency is just the term that we use to explain that.
Yeah.
True.
It's very
so on the other side of all this stuff, right? You can look back and say, oh yeah, he's resilient. In the moment, I'm not trying to be resilient. I'm just being grateful, being present, pursuing, being willing to keep moving forward. And then as I've, the analogy on the other side of the hot coals, I'm like, whoa. Yeah.
So you started, when did your book come out?
The end of July. I self-published.
Yep.
The end of July 2022. And there was no big marketing campaign behind it. It was more or less just kind of a sigh of, okay. It was a finish line in one sense, but it was the starting line to another. And my book consultant reassured me that it's not a book launch week or a month, it's a year and more. A book takes on a life of its own over time, and it will find its way into the hands, hearts, and minds of those that need it most. And so that's what I intend for it. That's what I try to spur it along, but not in an overly pompous way of like marketing the book.
And how long did you work on it for?
Well, it was in my mind for a long time, years, but it was really when COVID hit. I thought, and my wife became pregnant, and those two things came together at divine timing, and I said, just do it, Aaron. Action changes things. And so I committed to it, just like any of my other endeavors, and diligently started to pen words every day. I think that's the secret to writing, is trying to just get it out and not critique it early. It's the hardest thing.
It's true. When I had written my book, Dan actually had said, just write it. He's like, you can go back and edit it later, which you do. I think editing's harder than writing, but well, you know what I mean? Like it's longer, it seems, but.
Yeah, and then it starts to get really fun, then you have your third and fourth iterations, and it starts to really have a through line, and it's feeling real. Then this cover starts to happen, and it becomes real.
Well, it was absolutely beautiful. And I see that you also donate a portion of your proceeds to a certain charity. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, yes. a portion of the proceeds goes to spinal cord injury research. An organization that's near and dear to my heart is Wings for Life. It is Red Bull's charity of choice. They are a global juggernaut, spurring the mission to find a cure for spinal cord injury. I sit on the board of directors for them, and we vow to find a cure for this injury. We fund world-class science and research around the globe. We encourage our projects to cross-pollinate each other, to share their findings, reduce redundancy, and encourage progress. So yes, I want to be a part of that solution.
Is there any specific studies out there right now that you guys are involved in that you're feeling really excited about?
There are some exciting things out there. We have 27 studies here in the United States that Wings for Life USA is funding. We have many more in Europe and around the world. It's going to be a combination of studies that yield a real efficacious result. You're not going to take someone from a chronic injury and have a procedure and have them jump up out of a wheelchair.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. There are a lot of facets to their process. You have to have a dedicated individual to engage that, to make it a lifestyle, truly. I know that the way I live, I would be a strong candidate for something, but I would not put myself on that fine line, as I have a lot to lose at this point, and I'm very happy with where I am in life. In the future, if we have something that's really viable, I would entertain it. But for now, we keep buggering on.
Well, that's what we do, right?
Yes.
Keep working at it. Yeah.
It's around the corner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We, so my own self, I have a daughter, she has a heart condition and she was born with complex congenital heart disease. And so she's had 8 open heart surgeries. And so it's a different situation, but we were told many, many times that take her home, there's nothing more we can do. And like your mom, the answer was, you're not going to tell me that. We need to find something else. And, that research and the efforts that people put into those programs make a difference, because she's now 27 and, they've done procedures on her that have never been done before. And so we value so much that when there is, whatever injury, birth defect, whatever it is out there, to see people like you behind those in the field that you're passionate about, putting their time and their efforts and their resources into that work, because it does grow and it does culminate together and it does make a difference.
Truly, if not us, who?
Exactly. I love that. Well,
I'm so happy to know that she's doing well, and 27. That's a young woman. Good for her.
Yeah, I know.
Well
It's
done.
amazing. Thank you. But it is, it's the same in the terms. We have, again, similarities and differences, but the thing that, I hear from you is just that piece of, every day is a struggle. There wasn't a corrective procedure, every day she lives with heart failure, but we find ways to navigate around that, and things look different. We do things very differently than the general population does. One thing I notice a lot of times is what we get used to certain ways of doing things. You almost get desensitized to it because you do it every single day, and until you maybe are around somebody else who isn't part of your normal daily walk, you almost can kind of come up with the like, oh gosh, wait, I didn't even think about that. You might not understand what I'm doing, but I do these things every day. Does that come up for you at all? Or I don't know if I explained that well.
No, I understand what you're saying, and yes, I mean, we just navigate differently, right?
Right.
And if we don't have any frame of reference, we don't know any different. Right? Like, this is just how we have to function and move in order to live well and carry on. I I know my life is different, and I value it, and I like the difference. I like that it's, you know, I mean, I like being a little different. I don't want to do the same thing everybody else is doing.
Mhm.
You know, it's my grandfather said, if you're not the lead dog, then the scenery never changes.
It's- so he has that adventurous spirit too, huh?
No, I mean, there's funny little quips, but you know,
Hmm.
truth in that.
Does he have a story behind that?
Probably.
Probably. Oh, that's great. Well, is there anything else that you can think of that you want to tell people, maybe where to find you or how to
Yeah,
find your book?
I'm an open book, really. I'm really easy to contact and connect to, as we've seen here. I have a little bird out here. He's got one leg. I call him Hop.
Oh, he comes
Aw.
by and visits the window.
Yeah, he's by the window. I give him crackers and stuff, but it's raining out there, so he's hanging out.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
Little one-legged Hop. Anyhow, Aaron Baker. I'm Aaron Baker on social media, the website, the rebelliousrecovery.com, or on Amazon, the Rebellious Recovery. I would be honored for those that need it to read the
Mhm.
book, share a review, or share it with whomever you feel could benefit from it. It's a piece of me, and I'm just honored that you wanted to speak with me today and share this.
Oh
So
my
thank you.
goodness. Yes, we're so honored to have you here with us and to speak with you. I'm just so inspired by you, but also just, I mean, I said it earlier on, you have this incredible personality that's fun and magnetic, and I know that that's probably not how things feel all the time. So I don't know if that just comes natural for you or if it takes work to kind of do that too, but just your ability to practice gratitude and be present is really inspirational.
Well, thank you. It is a choice again. I've been guilty of making a spinal cord injury look easier than it is, but I choose to live this way. You know, yes, it's hard, and yes, I can succumb to the challenges at times, but for the most part, I am really, really honestly and truly grateful, and I live
Yeah.
that way, and I want that to be my message.
What an absolute pleasure it was to have him on the show. I have to admit, I felt a little bit starstruck. I'm like, here's this cool guy, right? Like, he's done all these
Yeah.
incredible things, you know?
And one of the things I love about him, the sense and what rubs off on me is possibility. When
Mhm.
he talks and I listen, I just feel like there's possibility.
I know he was told that there would be a 1 in a million chance that he would walk again, yet here he is walking. And it's not just that simple, you know, like he explained, he has to work hard at that every single day. And it sounds like he has a wonderful support system, his mom, his wife, and, you know, now he's got his new little baby daughter to kind of
Yeah.
feel some more adventure there for his adventurous spirit. But that's kind of, you know, I mean, it's kind of like that, you know, you get around him and some people are just contagious and he does
Yes.
have this contagious sense of adventure about him. I would be like, where do you
Yes.
want to go? Come. I bet it's easy for him to talk people into things.
He seems like it.
For anybody listening, I highly, highly recommend the book. I recommend the documentary. The documentary is called Coming to My Senses, and the book is called Rebellious Recovery.
Thank you for listening to That's the Hashtag Truth. Remember to catch new episodes every other week on your favorite podcast channels. To learn more, visit us at jennymuscatell.com or muscatellministries.com.